Hey everyone, Nwanda here. I'm going to do a quick analysis video of the first game of the Prismata League Finals between Apooche and Masn. The game here, I'm not going to go into much detailed analysis. I'm not going to get very technical. It's going to be a sort of more introductory guide to like some of the strategies that come up in a high-level Prismata play. It's not going to teach you how the game works, so I expect you have some little bit of background about playing Prismata. And also at the other end, I'm not going to go into some like very technical details about what the actual best move was in certain cases or any deep analysis. I'm just going to go through the game and just give a feel for what kind of thought processes the players were using, what kind of decisions they were making, and how the game played out. Because there's a lot of very interesting scenarios in this game. So first of all, let's have a look at the units that they had available. So Wild Vivid Drone, big economy unit potentially, can actually make big economies better, but also small economies better, because in big economies you've got a cheaper drone, you can get up to a higher economy quicker and easier. With low economies you can fit this in where you couldn't normally fit in drones into your build, and you can actually spend your 2 energy. You start with 2 engineers more efficiently, when it's otherwise, if you're on low economy, it's trouble spending all your energy because 2 drones cost 6, whereas 1 Vivid drone only costs 2. So it can make a wide variety of strategies happen. Then we have some units that are quite good in Breach Proof, Trinity Drone, Venge Cannon. And then we have Odin. Odin is a really big unit. Often warps how a game plays. It's the unit with the biggest player 1 advantage in the entire game. So player 1's usually very happy to see an Odin in the set, and very happy to set up a sort of very normal sort of Odin-centric opening. And then player 2's looking for a way to sort of break the symmetry and find a way to either get in front of the Odin, to disrupt the Odin somehow, or just do something to throw the game a bit off balance. Then we have Immolate. It's a very cheap attacker, one of the cheapest attackers in the game. Well, it's the cheapest, joint cheapest permanent attacker in the game. And fits in potentially nicely with the Vivid drone for some fast rush strategies. Then we have Redeemer, Sentinel, Hellhound, all multiple tech costs. And so when they come in, they're going to come into play a bit later in the game. So let's see how they start. So player 1 probably looking to go for Odin. Player 2 looking for a way to either one-up the player 1 standard Odin lane in some way, get it a bit faster, get it a bit slower but with some other advantage, or disrupt it in some way. We see straight away Apooche goes for the sort of high economy Odin line of Vivid Drone, Engineer. So this is an interesting line, because what it does is it basically means he's laid out in front of his opponent the next 4 of his turns, or next 2 of his turns definitely. Then the turn after that he's going to be getting a Blast Forge probably, and the turn after that he's going to finally be getting his first defensive unit. Because he's gone up to 4 energy, and he needs to spend that energy every single turn, otherwise it's been an inefficient opening. So Masn can work out exactly what is going to happen for the next few turns and plan around that. And then he has the opportunity here to either mirror the strategy, Vivid Drone, Engineer himself, or try and come up with something that will disrupt the strategy. And we'll see that if I just put it on play here, Masn was quite undecided about this, with cancelling, for going behind these 2 ideas of mirroring it, Vivid Drone, Engineer, or the complete opposite idea of turn 1 Animus, the most aggressive play you can have in the game, and he decides that turn 1 Animus is right here. So he's looking at Immolate, very cheap attacker, along with Vivid Drone. So you see he's going to have 8 gold next turn. He can go Immolate, Vivid Drone, spending all his tech, all his energy perfectly, all his money perfectly, and putting attacks on the board that are not going to be countered by walls, because as we said, Apooche's turns are pretty much locked in at this point. So he has to go Vivid to make his last turn sort of make any sense. So he just locks that in straight away. We can see at the bottom of the screen he basically doesn't think much about this. And then Masn's turn's also locked in here. Immolate, Vivid Drone's the only thing that makes sense. Quad Drone, there's no more Vivid Drones you can buy without any drones, so Quad Drone's the only way, and it's perfect money, so this is what's going to come out. And then again, attack and Immolate, Vivid Drone's the only thing we can do. So we finally get to the point where we're getting more decisions to come up in the game, but again, there's not much here. Obviously, we're getting attacked and rushed, so we're going to need a Blast Forge for the wall. There's no other good defensive options in the set, and we still want to try and make our way up to the Odin. So the Blast Forge comes out. We're going to lose our 2 engineers, so we're going to have to replace them, and to have a bit of granularity, and also to be able to build more drones, because we're not up to a tech count that's going to buy Odin yet, so we need to keep going with that. So we have to get engineers, and obviously we're going to get a Vivid Drone with the 2 energy we have, and so that basically forces this turn out. And now we have an interesting turn at the top. So we have 9 money to spend after our attack, and Now we can do something other than just Immolite, Vivid. We can go Immolite, Tarsier, Vivid, or we can go Tarsier, Tarsier, and skip the Vivid totally. So we know that Apooche is going to be getting a wall next turn. That's guaranteed. They've got 2 damage coming in plus whatever we buy, so he's definitely getting a wall. So we'll likely want to hold our Immolites. If we're going to hold our Immolites, it doesn't really make that much sense to buy them right now. Why would you buy an Immolite that you have to hold instead of a Tarsier, which takes 2 turns for it to build, and get that out on the board as quickly as you can? So we have an interesting decision. Do we get the Tarsier line, but then we don't have enough gold left to spend our energy? Or do you go for the Tarsier Immolite line, and we can see that Masn was also putting these both on the board and considering between them. And then we can also get the Vivid Drone. But this Immolite just feels bad because it's not going to be attacking next turn. And we're not going to click 3 Immolites, 2 of which just run into a wall. So in the end, you see he goes with the Tarsier, which I think was the right play. And it's just interesting that we get these kind of decisions already at this turn with such few economy and end up even just not building our drone. So Tarsier comes out. And then in response, obviously, we're going to get a wall. And you'll see we're up to 14 income, 23 minus 9. And that's not even enough to build our Odin yet. So we're going to have to keep building drones and keep working our way towards that income. We have a little choice here about whether we get the Vivid or not. But if we do, we're going to be floating a lot of money. And he decides to go with the drones. Then, as you see, up on the attack, there's no point attacking our 2 Immolites into the wall, so they're going to be held. And we have 10 money, which is exactly enough for Tarsier, Vivid. So that seems a very obvious, intuitive play. But then there's a decision he makes of whether we could get the Tarsier or the Immolite. If we get the Immolite, we're going to be attacking for 7 next turn. We're already attacking for 6 is enough to force out the wall. So attacking for 7 actually doesn't change that very much. If we attack for 7, he builds a wall. He's going to be only on 1 engineer, so he's probably going to want to get another engineer, but it looks like he's got enough money to be able to do that anyway. So getting the Tarsier out while we can seems to make a lot of sense to me. Chooses the Tarsier line. In response, we're going to have to build a wall for defense, and then work our way up to that, slowly working our way up to the Odin. So you see it's turn 6, and because of this rush from Masn, still no attack on the bottom side of the board. These turns... still kind of interesting. We're going to get a Blast Forge out because, remember, there's also Hellhound in the set, very efficient attacker. If you can get that out, you want to get that out. And at some point, this Odin's going to come in and attack us. So being able to get walls ourselves is pretty good. And this is a good time to fit it in. And though there's lots of interesting choices about whether you could keep building attack here, I'm going to skip that kind of analysis just for this video. I just want to give a brief overview of the game and some ideas of some of the tactics that come into play. So here we have finally up to the 3rd Blast Forge, and interestingly he looks at putting the splitter on the board, but he just can't afford it. He can't even get a splitter here. So while he's already defended here, with only 4 attack coming in next turn because the Immolites aren't attacking, he ends up having to build 2 walls and 2 engineers just so that he can get away with the Odin next turn. If he builds the steel splitter, he won't have 1 extra gold left over to hold a drone, and he's going to have a drone if the maximum attack comes in from the top. So from the top we go Hellhound, Immolite to put the maximum attack in to force a drone hold at the bottom, and then that gives us a bit of money left over, which he just saves up, which is important to do sometimes when you're on very, very low economy. Finally the Odin comes out, and it has to hold a drone to finally get out. So at this point, the Odin's out. We're up to 7 attack, although that attack is costly because it sacrifices their splitter. And on the top half of the board, we can see there's 6 permanent attack out. And then, if we count these as half, 2.5 extra attack. So 8.5 total attack. So the bottom hasn't even caught up in attack yet. But of course, he has a much bigger economy. 10 at the top, 19 at the bottom. But will that be enough? At this point, I'm going to start going through the game a bit faster. We've got to the point that the opening was heading for, and at this point, players are just trying to squeeze in as much attack as they can while still defending. Actually, this game gets a bit more interesting than that because there's just not enough resources to do so. So, for example, here, Apooche actually lets top have a breach, so he's under defended here. His defense value is 7, less than defense value of 8. But in order to attack for the full 8, Top would have to absorb on the Rhino, which is one less absorbed than a wall, and then attack with the Rhino. So all of this potential defense would be gone for next turn. And because we've got more attack coming in, this just isn't going to be possible. So he's definitely going to be losing the Rhino. In which case, when he attacks with everything, he's just going to be breaching for 0, which is very good because it means he kills the wall instead of it absorbing 2. But I had to look at this in analyze mode, and if you just build walls and defend, you're just not increasing your attack. You have to click the Odin, sacrificing the steel splitter just to sort of keep up and doing damage and doing something in the game. But if you just do that and don't replace the steel splitters or increase the steel splitters, there's just no way of getting ahead. And as we see, Top has exactly 10 gold, which is enough every turn for a wall and a Rhino. If he keeps a wall, adds another wall and a Rhino, he'll have 8 attack. 8 defense, and that would be against 4, 5, 6, 7 attack if we just bought 1 steel splitter here. So you can build 8 defense every turn against the 7 attack coming in, of which to come in you'd have to continually spend 6 gold on a steel splitter, and then there's just more attack at the top that you'd also have to keep defending at the bottom. So we see allows this breach comes in, but even then it's not clear whether taking the breach is correct. It might even be best to not attack, lose the Immolite on defense, so that you don't get breach back. And we have a very interesting back and forth in the next few turns. So, do I breach? Do I not breach? Do I allow a breach? And so, come in, breach, then not defend for enough, or defend for exact, so that we get breach back. Then an interesting question: do I take the breach and then get breach myself because I got breach last turn? I can only put 5 defense out of 10, or do I hold Immolites, attackers, and lose them on the attack against me, so that I get so that I don't get breach and then can set this up. And this is a good choice here. He holds the Immolites, which is kind of non-standard, losing Immolites on defense. But what it does is he's got this 10 gold, so he can make up to the 8 defense every turn, and we can see there's only 7 attack coming in, so it's the perfect amount of defense for the attack coming in. So it works out really well, and it's a really nice play. Attacking for exactly the right amount to force the drones to die. Really good. And then also, yeah, we have this other option. Instead of losing the drones, we absorb less on the wall. Obviously not a nice option to have to consider. Ends up going with that one instead. Oh, he ends up going to take losing the drone. A lot of indecision across. A lot of these calls are very, very, very close. So what we see happening here is, even though we sacrificed all this attack, still up on attack, and able to put out this nice wall Rhino every single turn. Exactly. If you had 1 less gold, this wouldn't be possible. But with 10 exactly, it works out very nicely. Again, attacking for just the right amount to cause a tough decision between absorbing 1 less or losing the drone. And then at this point, we're seeing no walls left for the Odin side. So they've run out of ways to defend, switches to an interesting sort of attempt to try and make the game winnable, puts out Animus, tries to get lots of Hellhounds. Just going to skip through at this point. Unfortunately, doesn't quite work out, but it's an interesting way to make the game last a little bit longer. Try and pull out some kind of victory. But in the end, we see the turn 1 Animus won. And I think the reason for that was basically wall supply and the amount of absorb or soak. So the only other soak in the set, the only other way to defend the incoming damage is something like Sentinel, which is not the best of units. It's very hard to get out, and especially it's in green and red, and we know we're going for a 3 blue unit. So basically he had to just rely on the walls as his defense, and it just wasn't enough, and the turn 1 Animus broke through. So it was an excellent game. Nice game for an introduction to some of the complexities you get in Prismata and some of the nice little games you can play out. Both players have access to exactly the same units, and we have one side building these units on the bottom and the other side building almost completely different set of units on the top. Completely different game, completely different economies. We see the damage numbers for Masn got quite high fairly quickly as expected, and just Apooche just never, even once he got the Odin out, never ever got close enough to compete. On the economy side, never even went above 10 for the entire game. That was enough to win. So I hope you learned something from this video. If so, please let me know. I might do some more. If not, please let me know and I'll never do any more. Both work for me. Thank you very much, and see you next time, or not, as the case may be.